They say hindsight is 20/20, and it's true. Hi, I'm Brenda from the Homeschool Files, and today we're going to talk about things that used to scare me about homeschooling, but don't anymore. I'm glad you joined us. Okay, the first thing that used to scare me about homeschooling before I really did it for very long was getting behind or falling behind. I was very worried that I was going to teach my kid. I only had one student when I started, and going to find out that she was not keeping up with peers of her age and that I was forgetting what I needed to do. And the reason that is such a worry, I think, is because we compare ourselves to public school. Now, I attended public school, and so did my husband, and our daughter had attended public school, and I was a public school teacher for over 10 years, so public school was pretty well ingrained in my thinking. And when we started homeschooling, I had a certain set idea about what second grade, because that's the first year we homeschooled, about what second grade entailed, about what should be done in second grade. When we got to third grade, I really had a set idea about third grade because I had taught third grade for years. And I was like, this is what we're supposed to do in third grade. And I just had that public school mentality. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little helpful in a way to be like, this is what kids generally do in this grade or that grade, just so you kind of know, but you don't have to follow that pattern at all. I know plenty of kids who have never been to public school. Two of my own have never been to public school, and it didn't really matter in the end what grade they learned a thing as long as they learned it. So we don't really have to follow that public school calendar. You know, when I taught first grade, one of the things that was so frustrating was when parents would be so upset that their child wasn't reading yet. And what I always told them in parent-teacher conferences was, look, kids learn to walk at all different ages. One of my daughters learned to walk at 9 months old, and one of them not until she was 15 months old. Guess what? Both are within the range of normal. Neither one of them had any delays. They were absolutely fine. So you have to think about that with reading. Everyone is not going to be on the same exact place in May of first grade. And whenever I would explain that to parents, they always seem to understand that. Oh, you're right. You know, my kids all learn to walk at different ages. And when you get down the line, you can't look at the kids and say, oh, I bet that one was an early walker or that one was a late walker. You can't tell later. Everyone learns how to walk. And the same is true about reading, and the same is true about all of school. So your child may not do something exactly when the public school kids in the same grade are doing them, and that is going to be okay. Now, having said that, is it kind of good to have something to work off of so you don't forget something major? Yeah, you know, it is. I know World Book used to have something called a typical course of study. I think you can still find it if you Google it, the World Book typical course of study. And it was just a list of, here is what is typically taught in 5th grade. Here is what's typically taught in 8th grade or whatever. And I used to read over that. There's also a series of books called something about what they need to know in 2nd grade or what they need to know in 3rd grade. I can't remember, but I never found it to be very helpful. It just, I don't know. Maybe those kind of things are helpful to you. You can Google a list these days. Like, what do they typically teach in 3rd grade or 4th grade? When do people learn to write in cursive? When do people learn their multiplication facts? See, most of us are working off of our memory, our public school experience. I remember doing this in 3rd grade. Shouldn't my daughter be doing this in 3rd grade? Maybe, maybe not. But let me tell you something. If you're using a written curriculum that you purchased, you know, it's going to have things in there. And if you move up to the next level of that curriculum and the next level, they're going to eventually cover everything. Now, if you're hopping and skipping and jumping between curriculum, yeah, you might leave something off. But when you find out those holes or those gaps that you've forgotten about, it's pretty easy to get caught up on them. Oh man, I totally forgot to teach you this. Let's sit down and work on that. And you can get those things. Don't worry about being behind. You know, if you're doing a good job, bona fide teaching your kid, they're going to learn what they need to learn. Don't listen to people who want to quiz them either. I've heard of a lot of cases where people had an adult quiz them. Do you know your multiplication facts yet? Let me hear them. You know, that's not okay. Don't let people do that to your child, because we all learn at different paces. And as long as they're working on that and learning it, it doesn't really matter if they did it this year or the next year. So I found out that being behind was not really that big of a deal. Some people will say, oh, you never can be behind. You're never behind. But when we got to about 8th grade with my oldest daughter, I thought, yes, you can be behind, because I want her to graduate at a certain time. She wants to graduate high school at a certain time, and you can get too behind if you're too lackadaisical about it, and you won't be able to get caught up. So yeah, you have to every year sit down and evaluate where you are, evaluate how you're doing. Am I going to have enough years to fit in all the curriculum that we need to do, all the courses that we need, all the subjects that we need? But that's okay. Sit down and think about it every year. And if you've realized I left something out, fit it in there. Another thing that used to scare me when I first started homeschooling was affording it. Homeschooling seemed very expensive, and of course, it kind of means that one adult is going to need to be at home. Not every time. Some people can find a grandma to do the homeschooling for them, or farm them out to a friend who will take them under their wing and homeschool for you. And those kind of situations are very great. There's a lot of ways to get it done. But a lot of times homeschooling means that you're giving up one career, that one parent is not going to be earning like they did. And so that right there makes it already a little bit scary, because you're already living on less because you're sacrificing to stay home and teach your kids. Now, having said that, there are definitely moms who work from home and homeschool, whether part-time, some of them work outside the home part-time, maybe even full-time. I've seen families do amazing things when they put their children's education first and they find a way to make it work. But it can be concerning because, money is always concerning. Seems like especially these days. So some of the things that I have found over the years is that if this is truly a priority for your family, you will find a way to make it work. We have bought used curriculum nearly every year. Very rarely have we bought brand new. We have gotten free curriculum from people that were giving it away. We have done fundraisers. I have sewn things. I have sold things. I have walked around my house thinking, what can I sell? What can I sell? Let me declutter, put this stuff out in a garage sale or on Facebook Marketplace or something, and use the money to purchase next year's curriculum. If I'm finished with curriculum, I always put it up for sale, and that money gets set aside for the new curriculum. Sometimes I've used curriculum that was very heavy literature based, like guesthollow.com. They are great. Oh my gosh, I love Guest Hollow so much. Sunlight, things like that. And they have a lot of books to buy. Well, what I did is I set aside a certain budget amount every month, and then I would hit up abebooks.com or Thrift Books, and I would purchase what I needed for the next month. And I just did it a little bit at a time, and didn't have to buy it all at once in August, or just bought the fall semester, and then later I bought the spring semester. So you can do it that way too. If you want to make it work, you will find a way to make it work. Your kids can have a lemonade stand. Your kids can sell some things they made. People are very happy to participate in fundraisers, especially when they find out that you're trying to fundraise for your homeschool. People are very used to public schoolers coming around with fundraisers, and you know what? Homeschoolers can do the same thing. Last year, after my husband lost his job, we even actually asked on Facebook and said, hey, here's our Amazon wish list, just like I saw all these public school teachers doing. And I had so many kind friends send stuff to us from our wish list. And that was so helpful that year and that time. So there's a lot of ways to afford it. And you also just don't have to have everything that you want. There are truly free curriculums online. I think about Easy Peasy All-in-One. I think about Ambleside Online. There are free ways to homeschool. And all you really, really need is the internet, a library card, and some books and paper and pencils, and it can be done. Maybe it won't look as flashy as what you've seen on social media, but you can absolutely educate your kids. All right, one last thing that used to scare me before I started homeschooling was high school. And I know from talking to lots of friends that this is one that kind of scares other people too. For some reason, high school looms out there like this big, scary thing. Part of it for me is because I am more comfortable with the little kids. I have a degree in early childhood. Give me the little kids all day. They are like breathing to me, no problem at all. Some people would much rather teach high school, and they are very scared of the little kids. So it may just be how you feel about the age. I was not prepared for high school, did not feel prepared to have teenagers until I had them. And then I found out, guess what? They're just 1 year older than they were last year. It's really not that bad. The only thing about high school is that you do have to have better record keeping. You're going to need to make a transcript. And for that, Lee Benz, the Home Scholar, is the place to head. She will absolutely help you through homeschooling high school. She will help you with the transcript and the scholarships and all of that. I'll be making some other videos about high school as well, because I have graduated 2 of my kids, and it is so doable. But high school loomed out there. I think part of it for me was, I'm not going to know how to do the math. I struggled with high school math. How am I going to teach it? But guess what? There's tutoring, there are classes, there are co-ops, there are other moms you can swap with. Sometimes you have a mom that is very strong in math but struggles to teach writing. Well, maybe you're really good at teaching writing, but you struggle to teach math. Switch kids. Get your kids together, take turns teaching. You do not have to do high school all by yourself. You absolutely can get an army around you to get it done. Also, one of the things that I didn't really know is that teenagers can be so much more independent. You think, oh, high school sounds so scary, but you forget that by the time your kid gets there, you're going to be able to have really good conversations with them, and they're going to have their own ideas about how they want to do school. And when they're invested in it that way, it all goes a lot smoother. So those are just 3 of the things that scared me when I started. You may have a different list, but when you look back, you realize, oh, that thing just wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So if you are scared about something that's looming in the future of your homeschool, just drop me a comment and I'll be happy to talk about it on a future video, because we are here to help each other. Thank you for joining me.